Once upon a time, long, long ago in, hell, well, you know the rest, the absolute evil had, in the fabulous predecessor to this game, taken over the entire overworld with its creatures. Now it spent its time on debauched parties and... Wait a minute. The entire overworld? No! One small village of indomitable heroes still held out against the invaders. The unamused evil was beside itself with rage. But all this was about to change once and for all, because the remote controlling evil sent its most vicious general into the field, the dark elf Talia. Talia, also known from the fabulous predecessor, came back from her vacation in a thoroughly good mood. Before that, she had defeated her foster father, the paladin Thanos. This fact is important to note. For this last remaining village of heroes was protected by none other than Tristan, foster son of Thanos and Talia's stepbrother. This proud warrior in shining, his handsome heroic chest accentuating armor, was the last glimmer of hope for the forces of good. Talia, who had fully embraced the dark side, couldn't wait to really kick her stepbrother's ass. And so our story begins. The last defenders of good were fighting for their survival. This seemed to be the perfect time for Tristan to make his appearance, the last mighty hero of the good races.
My brothers! In your eyes, I see the same fear that would lead me to despair. The day may come when the courage of true heroes is extinguished, when we abandon our companions and all bonds of friendship are broken. But that day is still far off. Stand fast, heroes of the West!
And with those familiar-sounding words, Tristan charged into battle to the cheers of his men. The heroes of good had managed to capture some of the evil creatures. Nevertheless, it was more than questionable whether a few minor victories and a brilliant speech could do anything against the absolute evil's armies. A storm of darkness and gloom descended, heralding the arrival of Talia, the absolute evil's general. This entrance not only panicked the defenders of good, but also seemed to strengthen the creatures of evil.
Hey, I'm back! Time to kick a little hero butt. Forward, creatures! Show me what you can do! Punch 'em smack dab in the mouth! Smash 'em in the face! Oh, and just as a precaution, get me my handbook of worn-out third-rate catchphrases. Ha-ha! If my eyes don't deceive me, that's my stupid stepbrother Tristan over there too, just waiting for me to lovingly put his head on a spear. Ha! Today is gonna be a good day.
Talia seemed to be very sure of victory. Some might find this puzzling, as it was the beginning of a long new campaign. But okay, maybe the rest of the missions are nothing but a string of debauched victory celebrations, who knows?
A few pitiful opponents. I'm gonna massacre you. If I can just remember how that works again.
Fortunately, Talia's instincts took over at this point, something which wannabe pro gamers often refer to as auto-attack. Talia also remembered that she had a few skills that she could invoke whenever she felt like it.
Oh, right! Boom! That's how it's done. Did someone actually cage my subordinates? Ah, forget that. I'm the only one who's allowed to do that. Time to bust these things open. Pulverize.
Talia's mighty storm once again stood at her disposal.
And another one for the Grim Reaper. Or Grim Reaperess, I'm not picky.
A cage was destroyed and creatures were freed. Talia had freed all the creatures. Not to be outdone by her stepbrother, she too gave a brilliant speech.
Speech? Sure. Creatures! Time to punch the do-gooders right in the kisser! Forward! Punch them in the face, kick them in the shins, break their belt buckles so they trip on their pants!
Yes, very inspiring. Talia had reached the center of battle. With another brilliant speech, she goaded her creatures on one more time.
Another speech? Oh. Ding dong, the hero's dead. Is that okay?
Honestly, I don't know if I can work with you like this. After Talia's words, the creatures surged forward and flocked to their linguistically under-talented leader, or would like to, but the defenses on the left and right flanks made progress impossible. Talia had to destroy them in order to receive further support. The hero's defense collapsed on the right flank. The monstrous evil's creatures flocked to Talia.
Excellent. I can always use more cannon fodder. I mean, loyal subordinates.
The hero's left defensive flank could no longer withstand the breaching evil's creatures.
Yippee-ki-yay, hero mucker!
Talia, stepsister! You dare to show your face here after killing our foster father!
Yeah. Is that a trick question? You can see I'm here. Thanos deserved what he got. And I thought to myself, hey, like father and son.
You will pay for your deeds, sister. The light will protect me.
One of your creatures has been...
Sister, turn from evil and come back to the side of good. See the power of light.
With these words, Tristan was bathed in a golden light that seemed to protect him. As if that were not troublesome enough, a number of magical portals opened at the same time.
As if this wasn't dragging on way too long already. Can't we just jump straight to the point where I greedily take over the world? Forward, creatures! Smash the portals! Flatten that magic junk! Pull the plug!
My brothers! In your eyes, I see the same fear that would lead me to despair. The day may come when the courage of true heroes is extinguished, when we abandon our companions and all bonds of friendship are broken. But that day is still far off. Stand fast! Heroes heroes of the West!
Oh, didn't you spout that same bullshit earlier? In exactly the same words.
No, not at all. I am known for my brilliant speeches, wicked stepsister.
I seem to remember that whenever you were supposed to speak in front of the class, we had to get a mop.
You'll pay for that. Onward, faithful! Destroy the evil!
All the magical portals had been destroyed, and with them, Tristan's shield went up in smoke.
That's the way I like it. Now, where were we? Oh, yeah. I was just about to kick my stepbrother's butt.
Sister, it doesn't have to end this way. Join me. Together we can still save the world.
Oh, can't you just die and spare us all the embarrassing melodrama?
Talia, this isn't the end. We'll meet again.
With these words, Tristan quickly created a portal and threw himself through it with the last of his strength. The portal closed again behind him.
Treachery, fraud, cheater! This was supposed to be my victory! And what the hell kind of glove is that anyway? Looks to me like game design forgot to balance the thing properly.
Maybe the people in charge were still too captivated by your great speech. It brought tears to my eyes too, however, not of emotion.
As if the bird brains these evil creatures have needed grand speeches. A few skulls to bash in, and the social calendar for the evening is filled.
Well, each to their own. But apparently, Tristan had suffered a mishap, as the aforementioned magic glove still lay in the place where it was last used. It would seem that he had accidentally lost it.
Wonderful. This thing is just what I need. Très chic. I'll, just grab that right away.
And so our story begins. Tristan had managed to give Talia the slip, but she had been able to capture his magic glove. The Gauntlet of Finitude, a fabled artifact. Unfortunately, UI overlays don't work in cutscenes, so Talia couldn't read just exactly what the glove did. Nevertheless, she proudly presented it to the Absolute Evil in its form as the Dungeon Lord. And so misfortune took its course, because at the same time, Talia wanted to demonstrate how loudly she could snap her fingers. But this snap, which would go down in the history books as the Dungeon Lord snap, unleashed horrific forces that were discharged into the Dungeon Lord himself. As Talia rose to her feet, the gauntlet had disappeared, and the Dungeon Lord lay dying. Viewers often began to cry at this point, because it made them think back to the last really good superhero movie. Talia mourned for about 5 seconds. Talia had shattered the realms of good and served them onto the Absolute Evil on a silver platter, while it had actually done nothing at all. So Talia now became the absolute ruler. She had no clue about how to rule, but more than made up for it with hubris and consistently ignoring glaring problems. In addition, she surrounded herself with a staff of incompetent advisors. What could possibly go wrong? 10 minutes later, Tristan had captured Talia, locked her in a cage, and put the armies of Absolute Evil to flight. And so the story ends. We'll tell you how the story continues in overpriced microtransaction bites. Oh, wait, wrong script. That's a different developer. Hang in there, I've almost got it. While Talia was ignominiously taken away, the unused essence of absolute evil continued to float through the ether. It wasn't about to admit defeat that easily, but for evil to triumph once again, it needed Talia back, for better or for worse. And so the swirling essence of absolute evil set about commanding the perplexed-looking chaotic hordes and freeing Talia.
Tristan! Let me out of this damned cage, you stupid little good elf. Otherwise, I'll have a hard time wringing your scrawny neck. What the hell do you want from me anyway?
Talia, stepsister, your deplorable deeds must not go unpunished. You have slain our foster father, Tanos, a blasphemous affront to our goddess, whom you, to top it all off, have also slain. But we will have plenty of time to argue on our journey. I am here for the stone. Brynhild, if you please.
You know you can, you little cutie. Oi! Go on, you lazy lot. Get that destroyer of worlds class hammer going.
Talia had been captured. Only the bubbling around the place essence of absolute evil could save her. It was amusing to leave Talia in the clutches of her brother. But on the other hand, without her help, the shapeless evil would probably just roam the countryside as a disembodied something or other, and at best be hired for third-rate horror movies. Fortunately, a forgotten dungeon heart lying in the underground could quickly be reactivated. Together with the creatures of the Horde, it would be easy to smash the do-gooder heroes there to smithereens. The wafting evil had to get rid of that dwarven contraption on the overworld, as it posed a threat to the underground, and with it, the dungeon heart. It was therefore necessary to build a mighty dungeon, or rather, to have one built, because, as a wafting essence, the disembodied evil could not do much itself. hungry evil had built a treasury. The meager amount that could be stored in the throne room was simply not even close to enough for a proper gold bath. Gluttony-loving evil had built a gobbler farm. Here, delicious gobblers were raised to serve as food for the horde. payday.
Oi! How long is this stone thing going to take, lads? Snookums and I were
The
planning.
sheltering evil had built a hideout for the Horde's creatures. These could henceforth build themselves a place to rest there. The army-raising evil had recruited its first creature, a bit underwhelming considering that it was sitting on the throne of the gods a short time ago. But fresh starts are never easy. The evilest evil could use the hand of terror, not only to intervene, but also to lend its little snots the impetus they needed by giving them a spirited slap. The detestable evil had earned some delicious evilness. Excellent things could be done with it, such as exploring new stuff. However, first, a place had to be found where the evilness could be stored. The absolute evil quickly built a vault of evilness. Hey, look, I realize you really get a kick out of slapping your creatures, but they're not really the enemy here. Maybe you should reassess your priorities. Ding dong! It's payday! Glamorous evil had built a vault of evilness. This allowed it to henceforth store evilness and use it.
Oi! No need to sit around there, Liz. When we could be picking up a little gold while we're here, eh? On you go, lads. Grab the nearest gold vein.
Sooner or later, the greedy dwarves would dig their way into the dungeon. The perfidious evil used a workshop to prepare traps to stop the gold-stealing dwarves in their tracks. Technological progress has almost always been a fine thing. Further research could not only make new units or rooms available, but also increase the maximum number of little snots or creatures. The hard work allowing evil had built a tinkerer's cave. Here, little snots could use the work units to make toolboxes, which were needed for the more extravagant dungeon accoutrements. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. creatures are collecting their pay.
Something dug into my little gold mine. Yeah! They had to be stinking orcs, whose skulls are at best used as toilet paper holders in the lavatory. Okay, boys, tear this joint to the ground.
Dwarves had opened a passage into the dungeon. The little snots immediately executed Order 67, as they had been instructed to do by Talia in such a case, which meant that they ran through the dungeon with their arms flapping wildly. At the same time, they opened a secret trap hatch, so that the tricky evil could give the dwarves a very warm welcome. A hero had died in one of the cruel evil's traps. The cunning evil had placed the first traps.
Oi! Did you little honey buns forget your little baby bottles? Or how did you manage to lose to a bunch of lousy orcs? But oi, we still have some reinforcements here. Reinforcements? Attack!
Obviously, the danger from the dwarves had not yet been neutralized. Luckily, the little snots had made a few traps in their spare time, and they were only too happy to make available to the all-consuming evil. A gold vein is almost exhausted. Ding dong, it's payday. One of your creatures is furious and is on strike. The little snot's trap glittered and gleamed. Soon, gold-hungry dwarves would be biting their teeth out on it as they unknowingly fast-tracked for a quick demise. One of your creatures has died. I'm sure you're shedding a tear right now as you hire the next 3. Later, you may also be able to resurrect these creatures.
What's one dead creature if it gets one closer to the goal of freeing me? Come on! Free me already, you rotten maggots!
The Thrasher was a very powerful trap, just waiting to slap several heroes to Nirvana at the same time. The Saw Trap was perfectly suited for cutting tree trunks, but since they wouldn't become a resource until Dungeons 5, it would have to settle for dwarves for now. Your army has just a thrasher had been set up and was waiting for heroes who dared to go near the carousel. One of your creatures has bit the dust. The dwarves were defeated for the time being. Satisfied, the essence of absolute evil rubbed something together that could perhaps pass for two hands together. The all-destroying evil had conquered the exit. This left the way to the surface open for its troops. The absolute evil's creatures blinked a little as they stepped into the glaring light of the sun. Finally, they could lay waste not only to the boring corridors of the dungeon, but also to the lush green meadows of the overworld. One of your creatures has bit the dust. The horrific evil had destroyed a camp in the overworld. The defeated heroes ran away crying and tried to entrench themselves behind even higher walls. Your army has just decreased in size due to death. The vile evil had destroyed another of the heroes' camps. Screaming at the top of their voices, the survivors took to their heels. You have destroyed a cage.
I have to protect the blueprint, Snookums. Otherwise, the orcs will eventually end up building some decent machinery here. Well then, keep your chin up, Toodles.
Brynhild, what are you doing? I thought your dwarves could easily handle a few orcs.
Problems, Brother Mine? Oh, what a shame. I had actually already planned on making myself a tea set out of dwarf skulls.
Talia, your evilness truly knows no bounds. These dwarves are part of the Alliance of Good. You were also once part of that alliance.
The path to the dwarves' oversized hammer lay open. The trembling heroes prepared themselves for the final battle. Hey there! Creatures are collecting their pay. dwarven equipment spectacularly went up in flames, which was rather odd, as the creatures had only been hitting the thing with their weapons. But fine, perhaps Horde weapons were made of flint. Yet the distraction provided by the dwarven intervention had shifted the destruction-loving evil's focus long enough for Talia and her stepbrother Tristan to disappear into the distance. With an imaginary sigh, the staggering evil took one last look around before setting off in pursuit. The path led to the Hellwoods, an eerie place claimed by the demonic creatures of the underworld. In the underground beneath the Hellwoods, Talia's stepbrother Tristan was tampering with the remains of a dungeon long thought forgotten. But the demonic evil's henchmen were hard on his heels and were also slogging their way through the underground. Tristan had no choice but to retreat.
My brothers! In your eyes I see the same fear that would lead me to despair. The day may come when the...
Tristan, you good-for-nothing imbecile! Can't you just shut up for once? Or finally come up with a different speech? That's so... Hey! Are those my armies of evil? Here! Get me out of here so I can personally kick my stepbrother's butt! Go ahead! Finish them off! Give it to them! Push her away past the expiry date cake, right in their faces!
Never! The power of magic flows through me! A magic barrier will keep those creatures at bay!
It seemed that Tristan did actually have some small knowledge of magic. His barrier was impenetrable to conventional attacks. Where magic was concerned, however, things looked just a little different. The spellbook perusing evil quickly set about tackling this problem underground. Before the mana-craving evil could resort to magic, it would first have to take care of the demons. It made perfect sense to have a vortex built to house demonic creatures. Evil had had a vortex built. There, hired demons found shelter and a place to wait until they could be resurrected at the cost of evilness after an unforeseen demise. Some parts of the underground were saturated with mana. Once dug up, this could be used to cast spells. The mana-addicted evil wanted to try this out as soon as possible. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon.
Stand fast, men! There may come a day when courage fails us, but it is not this day. On this day we fight! By all that you hold dear on this good earth, I call you to stand firm! Brothers of the kingdom! Let us lay waste to the dungeon! Attack!
Ah, you stole that speech. I've heard something very similar to that before.
That's beside the point. Those words inspired my men. The pen is mightier than the sword.
But weaker than a horde battle axe. It's just too bad that I can't be there to watch the show because I'm stuck in your stupid cage.
The dungeon heart is being attacked. Doors in the dungeon not only reduce drafts, but could also stop heroes and other enemies in their tracks for a short time. They also increase the efficiency of rooms. It therefore made sense to have a door to close off a production room. first door now adorn the dungeon. The grandiose evil not only use it to increase the efficiency of rooms or to stop enemies for a short time, but it could also lock doors to seal off areas for its subordinates. Payday. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. A new area of the dungeon has been discovered. Enemies are in the dungeon. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. payday. The never-went-to-hogwash evil's little snot had built an arcanium. Should one of these droll little workers manage to find the time, mana would from now on be produced here. A gold vein is almost exhausted.
Hey, Tristan, favorite, because only stepbrother. See my troops marching over there? I think they're gonna make short work of you.
Don't get your hopes up too soon, stepsister. My barrier and my men will stop them. We got what we wanted, and we'll soon be on the road again.
Creatures, get me the hell out of here already! Come on, get a move on! Save me, free me, sign petitions demanding my release!
The spoiled evil had discovered a few stray demons who were all too willing to join his dark army. Of all things, these were stuck in a rather awkward position. The perplexed evil pondered how to go about it. An arcane tear had appeared very close to the absurd evil's armies. These magical anomalies were not uncommon in the area and promised great power to those who knew how to use them. The creatures knew but one way to deal with these. Heroes had entered the dungeon, while the arsonist evil was marching its army around the overworld. Thanks to the demonic portal spell, creatures could instantly be sent back to the dungeon from the overworld. The corrupting evil had captured an arcane tear. New power flowed through it, giving it the ability to now cast the meteor rain spell. As luck would have it, there was a group of heroes nearby who made worthy targets. The arcane tear's power could now be used by the spellcasting evil. Ding dong! It's payday! Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. Area of the dungeon has been discovered. have entered the dungeon. It's payday. The power of the arcane tears had been activated. Spells were immediately available again and were now even more powerful. And again, the power of the arcane tears stood available. The arcane tears' power strengthened the magical evil spells. The arcane tear's power could now be used again. of the arcane tears had been activated. Spells were immediately available again and were now even more powerful. The gallant evil had now gained access to a number of spells. Create resources, for example, allowed toolboxes or gobblers to quickly be created as if out of thin air. In keeping with his childlike disposition, the amused evil immediately tried this out. The ingenious evil had managed to return the scattered demons safely back to the dungeon by means of a spell. A little snot set about generating mana in the Arcanium to make it available to the spell-wielding evil. And again, the power of the arcane tears stood available. The childish evil's eyes glowed with joy as it successfully used the Create Resources spell. This would allow stocks to be filled even without decent production. Enemies have entered the dungeon. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. The arcane tear's power strengthened the magical evil spells. The arcane tear's power could now be used again.
Talia, I still can't believe you really did all that. Weren't we like family to you?
I was constantly insulted and humiliated. Does that sound like a family to you?
Yes?
The merciless evil's army had reached the magical barrier. A spell would sweep it away. While the Cruciatus intoning evil was making its way through the protective barrier, Talia and Tristan continued upon their way.
Tristan, beloved brother, would you be so kind as to open this cage door for me? There's no need for us to argue.
Step brother, and I simply cannot forgive you for slaying our foster father. Not to mention half of the good people of the country.
Only half? Ha! I mean, all that just kind of happened. I don't know how exactly it did all go so wrong either.
You put Tanos's head on a spear.
He bloody well deserved it. Time and again, I had to suffer insults from him and his henchmen simply because of my origins, as if all dark elves were evil.
You killed hundreds of heroes, slew Father's companions, and put Father's head on a spear.
They made me do it. It's society's fault.
Your enemies are in the dungeon. A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. The power of the arcane tears was once again available. You have unearthed a new area in the dungeon. payday.
Tristan, I finally understand. I behaved poorly. If you let me out now, I vow to do better.
Really?
Of course not, you imbecile. I'd give you a whipping worse than I ever gave you in our entire childhood. One you'd still be telling your grandchildren about, provided you can still have children and grandchildren at all afterwards.
A new area has been unearthed in the dungeon. dong! It's payday!
Talia, I wish you would change your ways. Remember back when we were children and would play together by the creek?
And you threw me in?
You dropped a bee's nest on my head first.
Oh, that's right. I remember the way your head swelled up like a melon.
The arcane chair's power permeated the land. Spells were now even more powerful. And again, the power of the arcane tears stood available. The power of the arcane tears had been activated. Spells were immediately available again and were now even more powerful. Your demonic portal is under attack. The arcane tear's power could now be used again. Spell-wielding evil had seized an arcane tear. The newfound magic allowed it to now use a spell to summon the Prince of Hell. creatures are collecting their pay. Gold vein is almost exhausted. Your enemies are in the dungeon. The fanatic evil's armies reached another magical barrier. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. Payday.
There's my army. Time for you to die, stepbrother. Go, my creatures! Grab them, run them down, rub hot chili sauce in their eyes, and get me out of this damn cage!
My brothers! In your eyes, I see.
You're not going to repeat that same old crap again, are you? Are you?
Men! Stop them! Tully,
Your enemies are in the dungeon. Area of the dungeon has been discovered. payday. Ice in its drink-loving Evil's armies had defeated Tristan's pathetic defenders. Evil's creatures were filled with jubilation, but the disembodied essence of Evil was not yet in the mood to celebrate, for Tristan himself had escaped and still had Talia with him. The lingering without physical form Evil pretended to sigh and once again took up pursuit.
Sequences with me in a cage are being stretched out far too long here. Can't we talk this out somehow? Maybe rock, scissors, paper, like in the old days?
Huh. You know I always go for the good old rock. But speaking of stones, I will soon have all the stones of finitude together. And then...
Nobody gives a damn about your stupid marbles, you dumbass.
While Tanya was engrossed in an animated discussion with her stepbrother, the brain-eating Evil was already attempting a, more or less, fruitless attempt to free her. Since undead simply resurrected somewhat later in the graveyard after their demise, an unsuccessful onslaught was no great tragedy. Admittedly, the creature-wasting Evil probably never took the loss of subordinates too tragically in the first place. But back to the subject at hand. Fortunately, there were ancient mausoleums in the vicinity, which were home to powerful undead and could provide a significant supply of reinforcements. The map studying Evil eagerly took notes.
See that, Tristan? My armies will free me. Go on, you undead. Knock them down. Eat their brains. I don't know, just do something.
A temple with a sacrificial pit would need to be built before the merciless Evil's undead creatures could summon more minions. Quickly, the construction-obsessed Evil set about doing just that. merciless evil had erected a temple. From now on, blight could be stored there, which would greatly enhance the ode to grave-wearing evil's undead armies. Payday! Creatures are collecting their pay.
It seems your creatures don't even dare to leave the underground, Talia. But they are not safe there either. Forward, men! Destroy the dungeon in the underground!
One of the undead creatures that had fallen in battle had gone to rest in the graveyard, only to rise again after some time had passed. The merciless evil was then able to send it back into battle.
Enemies have entered the dungeon.
Payday. The sacrificial evil had a temple built complete with a sacrificial pit. The greedy-looking black maw with its dark void seemed to be eagerly awaiting offerings. Presumably, the evil spirits would reward each sacrifice with some soothing blight. The experimental evil set about testing this theorem. With a Wilhelm scream, a little snob disappeared into the depths of the sacrificial pit. This would provide the little snob-burning strengthened by the captured blight. The undead creatures was able to summon a minion to its side. The extravagant evil was satisfied to note that its undead were able to use blight and minions to maximize the number of creatures that could be used carelessly. In fact, the sacrificial pit was a very versatile contemporary. Pretty much everything could be thrown in there. It seemed as if the sacrificial pit would belch satedly, were it not simply an inanimate object. The sacrificial evil had sacrificed enough things for the time being. It was time to go on the offensive. Gruesome evil welcomed a bone lord into its ranks. Not only could this mighty swordsman both dish it out and take it, but could also summon skeletal mages as minions. Payday.
Your throne room is under attack.
The colourful clothes-wearing evil had discovered a dungeon gate in the underground. Apparently, this was one of the 3 lost burial chambers. All that was needed to benefit from it was to open the burial chamber, presumably with a few firm blows. was apparently the final resting place of the legendary mercenary army, the Scallywag Ragtags. The pragmatic evil was bound to have an idea as to what it could do with the undead found there. The zombie-like evil had unleashed powerful undead forces. The use of these powers meant each of its undead creatures could both move faster and summon an additional minion to its side. Each additional burial chamber would provide one additional minion. Your enemies are in the dungeon. Your gold vein is nearly exhausted. Undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their graves. Your little snots have completely mined out a gold vein. Payday! The poking around evil had discovered another burial chamber. This tomb was dedicated to the archers of the Scallywag Ragtags. Legend has it that they could miss a barn door even at 10 meters. Their corpses would certainly be put to good use by the self-sacrificing evil. In fact, the sacrificial pit was a very versatile contemporary. Pretty much everything could be thrown in there. day, creatures are collecting their pay. The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. Powerful undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their graves. The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. Ding dong! It's payday. Undead forces roamed around. Additional minions now stood available.
My armies are getting closer, little brother. Want to go ahead and pick out a nice tombstone? Not that you need it when I put your head on a spear.
We do not need to further elaborate on your misdeeds, sister. My armies are not yet defeated, and the hero's courage is unbroken.
The courage may be unbroken, but the spine.
The vile stench of the undead is still coming ever closer. Forward, faithful! Destroy that vermin!
Problems, brother mine? Is that the sweat of fear I can see on your brow? This reminds me of when you were going to ask Chelsea Chubby Cheeks to prom.
That's not the point here.
And she dumped you because she wanted to take her dog for a walk instead.
Your gold vein is nearly exhausted. The achievement accumulating evil had now discovered the third burial chamber as well. In fact, the sacrificial pit was a very versatile contemporary. Pretty much everything could be thrown in there. Powerful undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their graves. The remains found here were those of the alchemists of the scallywag ragtags, who considered arsenic to be a refreshing mouth gel. These corpses would prove perfect vessels for mindless zombies. The resurrected evil unleashed its accelerating undead forces. Additional minions rose. Payday. Powerful undead forces allowed additional minions to rise from their graves.
mark. Smear them on our toast.
The sovereign evil had freed Talia from the clutches of her stepbrother. Pity, really. I found it quite pleasant not to have someone constantly interrupting me.
I will ignore your insolence for now, but only because I have to deal with that damn Tristan. The step in Stepbrother is going to be an architectural statement when I'm done with him.
Lost in her rant, Talia had missed the fact that her stepbrother Tristan had meanwhile made a run for it.
What? That cowardly, dishonest, disgusting...
Talia had been rescued from the clutches of her stepbrother Tristan by the absolute evil. This seemed a bit surprising as, after all, Talia had accidentally caused its demise only one cutscene earlier. But the disembodied essence of the irritated evil was restless due to its lack of physical form. It needed help finding a new body. In such cases, less competent personnel were also called upon. Talia was extremely grateful to have been freed from the cage after 3 long missions. Finding a new body for the absolute evil seemed a small price to pay. High up on the 4th highest peak in the world, Mount Snotmore, resided the venerable Council of Little Snots. These wise beings were the ones who would know what would constitute a new, adequate vessel for the absolute evil. All Talia had to do was reach the peak. A trifle, really, but unfortunately, her stupid stepbrother and his oversized army stood between her and her goal. Otherwise, however, it would have been so easy that even a group of gluttonous hobbits could have managed it.